All right. Welcome back, everybody. I am with my friend Cory Scott Allen, who is also an actor and a dear friend of mine. Cory, why don't you tell us about what else we share in common?
Well, we have a laundry list of different mental things that need to be addressed on a daily basis. I know, at least for myself, especially, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder,
Mm-hmm.
bipolar 2, with extreme suicidal ideation,
Yep.
and severe anxiety. So you've been kind of my buddy system
Yeah.
along the way, you know?
Like, seriously. And that's why I'm so grateful that you were one of the first interviews for this podcast, because you gave me so much reassurance and hope and comfort, just knowing
Mhm.
you were like the first person I talked to who understood me on so many levels of being an actor, of going through some tough relationships, and of uh, being bipolar, and of being so open about what level of your bipolar, like what level your lows go to, what level your highs go to. Because my suicidal ideation, I think, scares some people. And I remember you talking with me about it in a way that was just casual. And I was like, oh, like I don't have to feel like I put any pretenses around it. I can just express myself with you.
Right back at you. My diagnosis came a little bit later in life than what I believe yours did. So
Oh.
to have you as a resource to see, on social media platforms and just
Mm.
just from knowing you and talking to you, it really helped me kind of A, not feel so alone, and B, just take a different approach to it and a different attitude. It's not a death sentence by any fucking stretch of the
Right.
imagination.
Right.
It's just a thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's a gift and a curse, and
Yeah.
it's truly both.
Yeah, you're not kidding. And as an actor, I'm sure you find that as an outlet like I do to express all those heavy feelings that you can't control, and you're like, well, hey, here's my way to not only get them out but to use them. Like,
Sure. Yeah. It can be very unhealthy, but if you do it the right way.
yeah, yeah, I
um
feel that.
yeah.
So my question then is, the blessing side of it. What do you hang on to and thank your bipolar for?
um First and foremost, it's been, it's the gift part of it is, I feel
Yeah.
like I can feel things
Mm-hmm.
deeper than your average person.
Definitely.
Um which the negative side of that is, if it's sadness, grief, or anger, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be very fucking deep.
Yeah.
But the positive side is when it's joy, it's joy that other people can't register,
Yeah.
which I'm sure is probably disorienting to to other people around and whatnot. But
Yeah.
as far as pulling it back to acting, um, it's taping auditions and getting to work. It's it's a total therapy session. I mean,
Mm.
it's a time and the place to get a lot of those things out safely.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, some really great stuff comes out of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but I struggle as a bipolar person, and because of my personal trauma growing up, I struggle with trusting myself. But as an actor, I've never questioned trusting myself because of bipolar and the emotional depth that's lended me to tap into whatever scenario. Do you feel the same way?
100%. If
Yeah.
I'm going through some sides for something,
Mm-hmm.
usually the choices that I take or end up settling with when I tape it or whatever, it's almost always the first thing I thought of.
Right.
And I think that's the nature of the, I don't want to call it illness,
I know.
but it's the nature of that's the beast itself.
Yeah.
Um,
That's interesting you said.
And I think it's a,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're having a lag. I didn't know you were
I don't know.
but I thought it was interesting you mentioned, like, I don't know how to call it. I don't want to say it's an illness because I kind of struggle as well with knowing the right words to give it, because coming from someone like you or myself, well, we have knowledge and a connection to talking about it, but there are other people that when they talk about it and they don't understand it, it hurts with the certain word choice they use. Do you feel the same way?
100%.
Yeah, I've had some, and I think a lot of the times, even recently, people who were well intentioned in their comments or in just talking about it to me, they were talking about it, like you said, as if it was a death sentence, as if it was something I'm against. I'm against my mental illness, and I'm like, I'm not going to get anywhere if I am living in out of a place against myself, you know?
Right,
So,
that, that illness, that's, you got to make it your buddy. You
mhm.
got to hug that buddy and listen to it, and you know you got to bring it in or it will destroy you.
Right, because I don't think
Um,
the problem is mental illness, because we can't solve that. We're doing our best with therapy, with talks, with medication, but what's the problem is the stigma around it and the way people talk about it or are scared to talk about it. And
sure, and
um,
I think a lot of people say things that they don't really understand that they are saying. I don't think
yeah, exactly,
most
not
of the time,
intentioned.
yeah, I don't think it's out of spite most of the time.
Definitely.
But it's kind of lack of knowledge or lack of knowing somebody that's dealing with it, and being around them through a cycle,
Right.
or and seeing the gravity of the situation. It can go from horrible to amazing. And
Yeah, you're right. I
second.
remember there was one time I was on set, and as you know, we can go on set and not know anyone, film our thing and get out and never see them again. And I
Right.
try to, make good connections with people, and I love people, but one time I was doing one of those random ones that were just out of town, and I, showed up, didn't really know anyone, but I'm very open about being bipolar. The other actor, I think on the second day of filming, told me, "Stop being so manic." And he like said it like a joke. And whoa, that threw me like the fuck off. And
No.
yeah, I pulled him aside and I was like, if you feel comfortable enough to make jokes with me and act, assume that I was like, then you need to know me better and know that I'm uncomfortable with that, and that you don't really know me. And I am very open about this, and I hope that that helps other people to understand it better, and it helps break the stigma. But I'm not manic, first of all. If anything, I'm bipolar too. So I do experience hypomania. And that's not to, um, you know, to put anything negative on a spin towards people with bipolar 1 who experience full mania. But it was just incorrect. And it hurt because a struggle I have with going through my hypomanic or depressive phases is feeling like other people are perceiving me differently than how I'm being, because sometimes I get so ahead of myself in my episodes that
Hmm.
I'm not fully present. Um, so yeah, it just, I don't know. I don't know if something like that has happened to you, or people thrown things around where you're like, and felt the need or not to say something. It's hard.
Yeah, I've experienced it. I can't think of anything offhand, like at work, but in
Yeah.
relationships, certainly.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You know, yeah, it's tough, man. You gotta, when you're scattered and you feel like that, it's so hard to articulate anything.
Yes, that's a good,
Um,
yeah.
so things can get out of hand very quickly,
Mhm.
um, and it's stuttering a little bit now, and I'm feeling pretty great today. But on a day, I had a conversation with you on the phone where I could barely put a sentence together. And
Yeah.
it's like all my thoughts were here and just got thrown,
You're right.
got collected and jammed back in my head, and they are not in any
Yeah.
kind of order. There's no
Yeah.
linear order to them. It's like a snippet of this, a snippet of this, a snippet of that,
Mhm.
and it's a bunch of half sentences.
Mhm.
And I'm sure it looks crazy on the other
Yeah.
side, but
Yeah.
it's my filing system trying to get back in order,
Exactly.
and it
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, and it's hard because our doctors will tell us sleep is what you need when you get into that place to reset your neurons, like so that your brain has a break. And for me, it's so hard to sleep when I'm like that. And I have to take medicine to force me to sleep. And I'm still struggling because my body's like, nope, you're in this phase. You're going to stay awake. You've got to do this. You got to do that. And it's funny because I feel like when you said half sentences, I laughed because I'm like the queen of half sentences. I'll start something, my brain goes there, and then I'll start that, my brain goes there, and I'll start that, and I'm like, it, I hope something good
But
is coming from this.
it's not like that every day. I assume there's times
No,
when it's flared up way more, and
you're
times when
right.
it's not.
You're
And
right.
just to be aware that it's even happening while it's happening is huge.
Yeah.
Massive. It's a
Oh
massive
yeah.
step.
What are there any things you have to help you when you're feeling like that or ramping?
Yeah, medications for
Yeah.
sure. I have meds that I take, every single day,
Same.
and then I've got medications that I don't take every day, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I won't take one for a year.
Yeah.
Um, but when I do, I'm so glad it's there.
Yes.
And it's usually, my case is it's not a permanent med that I
Right.
have to take. It's just
Right.
a temporary deal.
Definitely.
Um,
I don't know what I've tried, and I'm sure in your journey you've probably had to go through the trial and error of trying out different medications to see what works
oh,
for you. Yeah, it's a bitch.
fucking awful,
It's the worst.
awful.
And that was honestly some of my absolute worst depressions of my life. My most suicidal moments were during that time of trying things out. And here I am having the luxury of having help from a psychiatrist, and I'm still struggling so much. And that was discouraging to me at the time. And I was in a very toxic relationship at the time, and thank God got out of that. But um, I finally found that lithium is what works really well for me. I take it every night, but like you, I have my go-tos for different reasons. I have a beta blocker for when I need it for my anxiety
Mhm.
and my physical responses that I can't control. I have a medicine to help me sleep and to help me also kind of with the anxiety sleep side. And then my personal favorite, which maybe it's the one you were referring to that you maybe have to take once a year. I normally have to take it between like 1 to 3 times a year, but it's my antipsychotic. It's my Zyprexa.
Ser-
Oh,
that's
you're
mine.
Seroquel.
Seroquel,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, wow, it is such a safety net because, oh my God, before I had access to that, I had gone to the emergency room for a panic attack.
Mhm.
And I was just like completely, it was actually after a sexual assault episode that I unfortunately found myself in. I've only been through 2 really scary moments like that in my life. And both of them involved me drinking when the other person wasn't, and they took advantage of me. But after that, I spiraled
God.
because I was invalidated. I tried to reach out to a friend for help, and she was like, it's not a big deal. And she was like, stop overreacting. And I was just panicking. And then multiple things happened, but I got to the point where I was so out of control mentally, and my spiraling of my bipolar reaction to where I was in that moment was terrifying. And I can't even explain it. But if I had had my Zyprexa, oh my gosh, that could have just knocked me out, made me sleep because nothing else was working. And I was looking for things to help.
Mm.
And I ended up, just having to go to the ER. And when I found out, it was just a panic attack. And they were like, oh, and you have a history of bipolar, so we get it. And I was like, thanks, you
Yeah.
know? But it was very eye-opening for me. And after that, I'm so grateful that I knew, and before I moved to California, which was a big transition going into this move, I had Zyprexa in my back pocket if I needed it. If things
Mm.
started to spiral and I just felt like I was out of my own control, then it was like, hey, take half of one, take two, whatever you need. And I don't know about you, but does yours knock you out, make you like a zombie for 24 hours?
Out. And I also eat. I can't stop
Oh,
eating when I take
really?
that shit. It's unreal. I'll wake up and there would be like crumbs and stuff everywhere.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, real bizarre. But
That is
it would stop me and make it would like force me reset.
okay.
And
But
you know,
that's it. It's a reset button.
yeah,
And that's the way that my psychiatrist explained it to me. She was like, it's resetting your brain, and you might feel a little zonked for a while, but it's your rescue pill if you need it. And it works. And I'm so glad that we have that.
yeah. Speaking of reset buttons,
Hmm.
I do ketamine treatments
Yes. Tell us
for
more about
depression.
that.
So I was watching a stand-up special called Three Mics, is by a comic named Neil Brennan. He's
Okay.
brilliant. I highly recommend everybody immediately check it out.
Awesome.
Um, but he was talking about his struggles with depression, and I think he had some addiction problems as well, like I do.
Hmm.
And he was just talking about his journey to find relief, and it
Right.
was like what we went through. It's like you just feel like a guinea pig. You try this pill, you try that pill, and it just, you go from
Hmm.
moments of thinking, picking a prescription of thinking this is the one, and then trying it, and then nothing shakes.
Yep.
And it's just this horrific process to go through until you are able to get things dialed in. And that only happened for me in the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But ketamine, I got into a real bad shape. I'd gone through a divorce,
Around
another
the same
one.
time as me, right?
Yeah, I
I
think
thought
that's
so. I think
yeah,
that's when we connected, isn't it?
yeah,
I mean, we
and
knew each other, but
yeah, known you for a while, but I think that was the first time we ever had any dialogue about this
right,
stuff.
because
And
we're going through very similar things.
yeah, and you were a godsend. It was
Yeah,
nice to know
same.
that. And, I mean, pulled me out of some holes and kept me above the ground. Time, and
Likewise.
all I wanted to do was, just call it.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, but while I was going through all that, I just, I found myself, I wasn't sleeping, so I was up all night on computer,
Hmm.
I was just fucked up,
Right.
and was digging and digging and found some information on ketamine, and Neil Brennan referred to doing ketamine treatments,
Okay.
and he said it was the best thing he ever did. So I found a clinic in Nashville and went, and hour one changed my entire life. I'd never felt relief. I didn't know what
It's
that ever felt like.
amazing.
And within the first hour, I mean, the treatment's only an hour, but
Right.
you're, kind of foggy throughout the day.
Sure.
Um, Suicidal ideation was totally gone
Wow.
day one. And I've been through over 20 suicides through very
Wow.
close friends, ex-girlfriends, cousin, roommates. It's bizarro, but
Yeah.
I was next in line, and
Yeah.
I was ready for it. That one day changed my entire life. And I remember I'm fortunate enough to have parents that are very supportive. They may not
Yeah.
understand it, but they are supportive. And I think my dad was kind of a naysayer throughout my
Hmm.
entire life about it. But when he saw me after the first treatment, he told me, I mean, he said he could see a difference in my eyes immediately.
Wow.
And I was still only able to maybe take a shower in the day. I was still really
Yeah.
depressed.
Yeah.
But it was this little 1 degree course
Yeah.
correction that sent me, instead of heading south to Antarctica,
Yeah.
that
Well,
1 degree sent me to,
it was your momentum. I talk about the 1 degree a lot too. I don't know if I got that from you or what, but it's like, it's that momentum. It's that if I can do something in my control that makes it 1 degree better, I have hope. You know, I have hope to
that
get out of this.
that 1 degree on day one, it's not much.
Mm-mm.
Probably feels like nothing, but that one
Right.
degree 4 months down the road
Right.
is huge.
Yeah.
It's more than you can understand.
Absolutely.
And I mean, my God, those treatments are the best thing I've ever done for my mental health.
I love that.
Period. And I will talk to anybody about it anytime, ever.
Yeah,
Because it saves lives. It really does.
it does. And I remember you discovering that now, because I was looking at going into TMS treatment and getting transcranial magnetic stimulation done, because I was just so not okay. And I wasn't experiencing a happy hypomania. I was experiencing at best a mixed, irritable energy with my depression. And I was scouring for things to help. And my psychiatrist was trying multiple things for me, I was on Latuda at one point, and I hate those commercials because they seem so vague. Sorry, I hate them the most.
But
And
if you want to book me on one, I am available.
yeah, we both are, and we both actually know what it's like. But I just that drug was so bad for me. And that's the thing, what can work for one person in an amazing way can be not at all with the other. And it was just a dark drug for my experience on it in multiple ways. My physical reaction to it, mental reaction. I am so grateful that eventually we started me with a combination of lithium mood stabilizer and an antidepressant that worked for my brother, actually. Because my family, we deal with all different types of things that's very genetic. Yeah, it's like there's trauma and then there's genetic tendencies to have things, but they all affect each other. And even as a bipolar person who's very reactive, I'm learning that my bipolar sometimes just rides on top of just my trauma triggers, you know? And that's what I'm working through now. That's just, ugh. It's worth it, but ugh.
Trauma is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder if I didn't have all the traumas I had, would I ever have gotten the diagnosis of bipolar 2? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, how well do they work together? I'm sure it's pretty significant.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder that. It doesn't matter. Either way, I'm here.
Well, yeah, same. And I wonder how bipolar presents itself, because oftentimes, for example, I was told I had anxiety disorder, ADD, ADHD, OCD, all kinds of these things left and right growing up. But I actually was going through like severe testings at the age of 18 so that they could see if I was bipolar or not. And at that age, it's kind of too premature to let a kid know if they really are, because most of the time for bipolar people, it's your 20s when you develop it. And that's what it was for me. My first major depressive episode was when I was 19. Then it was just kind of downhill from there for several years. And it's kind of a blur at this point, but it was evident once the episodes were there. I'm a poster child for bipolar. Like, I have it all, like everything you can read about, I feel like I've experienced, which is to some extent helpful, because I read about it so much that I'm like, now I know I have lots of tools in my back pocket for how to navigate this. Doesn't make it easier, but maybe more manageable.
Yeah. And when did you get your diagnosis? You said when you were 19?
Yeah, I was,
wow.
Well, no, I started having my my first major depressive episode at 19. And in Nashville, I visited this one psychiatrist when I got home. It was actually when I was studying abroad in Vienna, Austria, is when I received my first major depressive episode.
Wow.
And that was a challenge because I felt incredibly isolated. And I even had like one of the teachers look at me and she was like, Lacey, we hand selected 30 students for this trip and you were so bubbly and outgoing and like, just smile. Where is that version of you? I didn't know. And I literally just,
She said, just smile. She said, just smile.
Yes, she said, just smile. I remember it. I was at the UN. I was at the United Nations in Vienna when this happened during this conversation. And I literally, because I was just feeling like Wednesday Addams that month. And I literally just looked at her. I did. I went, and I just looked forward and like died inside. I will never forget
Oh,
that moment, because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was happening to me. And then I was having all this suicidal ideation, and I slept all the time. And I feel like I wasted a study abroad experience, because I didn't know what was going on. So when I got back, I went to see a psychiatrist, and he was an asshole. He had all these plaques in his room, and he was a dude who was very like mansplaining things to me. And he goes, you are a hormonal dramatic. I don't know if he said dramatic. That's the way I felt. He was like, you're a hormonal college girl who wants medication. I've seen this. And I was just like, I just started bawling, and I walked out. I didn't even check out of the office. I just walked out, and I was like, fuck him. And I didn't get treated for a while after that, because I was just so confused. I was very religious at the time too. So I was just in that mind of, if I just pray enough, I'll be okay. Um, and I do think prayer is great for a lot of people, but it's not everything. You need professional help when dealing with mental health. And I had religious people tell me, God can heal this. And I think he can heal a lot. But I think that's a very ignorant way to talk about this. So I finally, after some more episodes, was diagnosed a year and a half later with a great psychiatrist.
yeah. And just getting, first of all, I think we've probably seen the same psychiatrist, because I've been through similar stuff.
Really? Oh,
But I mean, just finding the right person to work with is it's an undertaking its
yeah.
own, like you got to find somebody you mix with, somebody you feel, I mean, it's a lot. You're putting everything out there to a stranger on
Yeah.
the first meeting.
Yeah.
And,
A lot.
it's a lifeline
And if
too.
you're not
It
fully
should be.
understanding it yet, it's very hard, like you said, to articulate.
Mhm.
We're not, now you and I have the language to help us. It's still not easy, but to help us articulate what's going on with us when we're cycling. But yeah, starting out, it's the most intimidating thing, and it feels very hopeless. And I'm hoping that the more we talk openly about all these different types of diagnoses, that people will understand it's so common, and it's so okay to not be okay, and to know that a diagnosis is a refreshing, healing thing that'll let you know it's not your fault. And there are things to do to feel better and to feel like you. Because I'm sure when you got, like you said, the ketamine infusions, you were like, I just got a glimpse of me again, you know?
It was so bizarre. I mean, it was like resetting a computer in my brain.
Wow.
It doesn't heal everything, but it resets
Mm-hmm.
it and gives it an opportunity to relearn. So that's
Yeah.
when therapy came in. you know I doubled down on it, because I was responding to it so much better than I was pre-ketamine.
Right.
So all these things I had done for years and years and years, they just didn't seem to be sticking. When I had uh, my first ketamine experience, it gave a whole new perspective, a whole new lens, and it gave me an opportunity to attack it from a different way. And I mean, dude, I'm telling you, if you have the resources and you're struggling with, in particular, trauma or
Right.
suicidal ideation,
Right.
go get there as soon as you can.
Absolutely. And
Um,
another thing to add to that, because medicine, I think a lot of people are weird about medicine. And when I was first diagnosed, I was weird. I was like, don't medicate me. I don't want to be numbed. And I just didn't get it, to be honest. I didn't know that there were things that can make me feel like me, designed for people like me. And there were a lot of fears I had. And the reality is that adding anything to your system, there's risk. And even with me and the lithium, I have to get my blood tested to check my organs and see if they're fine, or if they're reacting weird to what's in what lithium is. And I know with ketamine, we had talked about like how it's a very strong thing, and something I kind of had to come to the realization of was, yes, I still do my checkups to see how my body's responding to all these things, but ultimately for me, I would rather be taking a medication that's maybe got a risk to it but it lets me feel like me rather than living my day-to-day life feeling like I want to die, you know,
Oh,
without medication.
the risks of the medication, it's nothing in comparison to the risks of not taking it, in
And I
my
don't think
case.
people see that who don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a relationship where she just didn't want me to have any medication. It was a religious thing, no medication. It was just like a lot of lack of knowledge.
Right.
And, you know, and I kind of got on that boat and was like, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I ended up, we ultimately ended up just, you know, going without it. I weaned off everything, and then that was the
Wow.
craziest year of my life. You know,
Wow.
when I got back on and I found a new doctor, and got into treatments, that was when it became 100% apparent to me that this is a lifelong deal. You know, the medication part of it is, and the medication part of it may have to change at some point and be adjusted,
Right.
or maybe there's one day where it's not necessary. I don't know, but you know, for me, I've got to do it every day, and it's no
Yeah.
big deal. I just just swallow a pill.
Same. And it's part of that built-in routine we've had to develop
Yeah.
for ourselves to feel okay. And, you know, I had a friend who deals with instability in a different way, but he's very, I guess, adamant about medication is, you know, a way of being controlled, I guess, or like not being yourself, being edited. And I
Mhm.
hear him, but I also am very much under the impression of if you're really an artist and you're a creative person, I get, especially with hypomanic highs, you know, you want to be like not affected so you can fully enjoy that hypomanic high because it's fun when it hits. But I would rather feel like a rainbow version of myself who's in control than a rainbow version of myself who's possibly of danger to others. Um, and I mean that on the scale of like, it could be just mildly, like just emotionally dangerous or like actually, you
Sure,
know?
sure.
So,
When you get so like if you had to do a scale between 1 and 10,
okay.
and you could go, where would you say? I don't even know how to say this. Okay, so like my personal scale from 1 to 10, a range of like sadness to happiness,
Sure.
is about -5 to 5. So like my big
Okay.
is most people's medium. That's how, you know, I'm on the lower end of things.
Mhm.
I get very, very little hypomania or anything like that. It's usually the bottom of the barrel.
Mhm.
Um, how high up do you feel like you go
You
whenever you
know,
have yours?
I feel like I've been able to experience two lives in a way with bipolar because honestly, looking at myself and my blur of an experience that it was living in Nashville for 7 years, so much went down there. My diagnosis went down. I got married there. I got divorced there. Um, and that was where I hardly ever experienced hypomania past the age of 19.
Wow.
Because like I said, I started developing major depressive episodes at 19. That's what came first for me. And I always was a very high energy, crazy, fun person. And maybe that was, you know, clues to this developing onset diagnosis and disorder that wasn't at full fruition until my 20s. But I remember after 19, it was just an up and down struggle of me feeling like me or me being depressed. Then I'd feel like me and then I'd be depressed. And because it was kind of new, I still knew what me felt like. But once I hit, God, 21, uh, it was all struggles and it was all unstable and unpredictable and dark and suicidal. And I didn't think I could finish college. And I remember thinking that my ex was like the answer to helping me. I had a codependency issue. It's a lot of my traumas based in a codependent family dynamic. And I guess had been shamed so much my whole life in a way that was inappropriate that I thought I had to look to other people so I couldn't trust myself. And so that alone that kind of trauma will keep you on a depressive side of things. And then you add it to a disorder that's really struggling and out of whack, and you're not medicated in the way that you need it. So I was like you, where I was just looking for a lifeline constantly for years. And I was just always, I immersed myself in studying everything when I had the energy to do with bipolar and mental health, because I felt so alone and so in pain, and I wanted to understand why everything, and it was just so blurry. But then fast forward to getting out of that and going through that process, and learning to be on my own, and then finally make the decision I wanted to make when I was 18 and moved to California finally for acting, was the beginning. In a way, it set me into an episode of hypomania, and it's when my mixed episodes started to really show up, because I still had so much underneath me that I didn't understand, that I had all these trauma triggers and pain, and I was running from some stuff, but I also was like, I'm trying to let go. I'm trying to whatever. I was excited about being in a new state, in a new place, having a new start. So that's when these highs started, and they don't last crazy long, because I get scared of the cycling out of control, kind of, or spinning out of control. Even when it's a high and I'm enjoying it, I don't want to be out of control. And I can tell, I even get like sometimes like tingles, and I'm like, I can't take a breath in between my sentences, and I'm like on top of the world, but I'm confident and I'm fearless, and I'm just like balls to the wall. Like I catch on to things, I hyper focus, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, and then it happens. I make stuff happen. So that feels pretty freaking great. But it's always mixed in for me, that awareness of that mixed episode of like, I'm cycling every day. It's like I'm really high one day, and the next day I'm like down on myself. And today is one of those days where yesterday I was kind of getting back up, and a couple, like 4 days ago, I was definitely hypomanic. But today, it's a mix. Because I had all this energy, but it was frustrated, irritated, in an energy that was telling me negative voices, and it's confusing. So I'm grateful that I think what I'm getting at is my environment affects me a lot. And now that I am in a healthy, loving, unconditional relationship, and I'm in a place in California that, I feel safe. I don't feel super grounded, but I do feel safe. That has helped me to be able to see what the bipolar is by itself without the other factors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, there's more depression in Ohio than there is in.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Location.
Or anywhere. It's cold. It's seasonal.
Yeah.
Yeah, location. And first of all, I adore you. I absolutely adore you, and I'm so glad that you found your guy
He's
who's
great.
got your back and
Shout
is
out to
there
Zach.
to have a support. Yeah, what's up, Zach? The fucking audio wizard too.
Yeah, he helped
and
us.
I've been fortunate. I've been fortunate enough to find a lovely lady who's doing the same, and it's all brand new to her, and
Yeah.
she doesn't know how any of this works. So,
But it seems like there's a
she's
very
just
safe dynamic of her willingness to listen, because people don't have to fix you. They don't have to know anything, as long as they're willing to listen and to be there with you in it.
It's unlike anything I knew was out there. I didn't know that could exist. This was always kind of my little secret that I tried to not get too far out of control. And when I felt myself spinning, I would just isolate so nobody could see it.
Yep.
And it's like Russian roulette at that point.
Yeah.
But with her, it's just been this stuff, but she is open to hearing about it and learning about it. And there's no condescending or any, it's just warmly welcomed, and it's so refreshing.
It is.
you got to surround yourself with people like that,
Yeah.
not just in your relationship, but in friendships. And, it's a,
My
it's a good way to select friends
Oh,
and weed them out.
definitely. Oh, definitely. And I think, I don't know if you feel this way, but as a bipolar person, I feel like my feelings, and it's more of me being in my own way with my mind instead of people actually saying these things to me, but I get insecure about being unreliable or unpredictable. And I feel like that makes me a bad friend. But the people, my close circle, which might be smaller, but it's intimate and it's real, those are the people that they get it. I can just text them and be like, actually, I can't tonight, last minute. And they don't go, oh, she's a fourth. They're like, no, I get it. I love you. Hope you're okay. You know?
No, yeah, it's huge. And the older you get, the tighter that
Yeah,
group
you're right.
becomes.
That's
But
that's true.
I used to feel terrible about cancel. I would cancel all the time, cancel
Yeah, me
things
too.
because
Because you didn't feel
I
like
just
it.
didn't feel like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which
didn't feel
is
like
which
myself.
is self-care. I I you know, I go back and forth between having more grace on or for myself versus being like, hey, girl, just get up and go out because you know that you struggle with isolation and you would feel better if you would just get out. I go back and forth, but you know what? That's the part of life. There are days where if I'm honest with myself in my depression, I'm like, actually, okay, I guess I do have enough energy to get up and do that. And I know I'll feel better if I do that. And that's my
Mm.
responsibility. But then there's other days where you have to go, oh no, I know it within me that it's not there. And it's okay. I'm just going to take this defeat today and I'll be back on it tomorrow. You
Hmm.
know?
I think it's really important to do that and not, give yourself some grace when you have a day where you can't get out of bed
Yeah.
or, like for the longest time, there was a period of about a year there where it was just like, make sure you eat something, Cory, and
Yeah.
make sure you take a shower. And
Yeah.
that wore me out.
Mm-hmm.
You
No,
know,
I get that.
when you have a traumatic event or you're going through a cycle or a combination of the two at the same time, which is like a fucking monsoon,
Yeah.
a really heavily weighted monsoon. I mean, it feels like you're walking underwater,
Yeah.
and trying to breathe underwater, and you gotta try to just float for a little
Yep.
bit,
Yeah. Let
and
go.
mhm, and
Yeah.
you have to be okay with doing just a little. Don't criticize yourself just because all I did today was take a shower. I'll
Right.
be like, hey man, way to go! You got off your ass, took a
Yep.
shower, and you ate food.
Yep.
So
And the
when I
thing
get out of
is,
whack, I don't eat. I was.
yeah, even my hypomania, I have to be reminded to eat.
I wish I had a little bit of your hypomania. I got to be
I'm
honest with you.
sorry. I laugh because I feel you. Because, like I said, even for instance, when my hypomania hit last week, and is getting all of this podcast even made because this has been in my head for years and it's finally being made. And Cory, it had been so long since I had actually experienced full hypomania. I'm talking like at least a year or two. And it hit me and I was like, whoa. I mean, I just, it's that confidence, it's that fearlessness, it's that I can do anything I set my mind to. And I want to learn how to you know, capture a little bit of that hypomania to keep in my pocket on normal days, and be like, remember when you believed you could do, I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out maybe. Maybe
That's
that's,
hilarious. Just use it. You know when it's
yeah.
coming, and then just get a task. You're like, I'm gonna start a fucking
Well,
podcast,
you're
and
right.
then
And that's the
ride that
good
wave.
thing to do is find something to focus that energy into, so that you can use it and be productive and it makes you feel even more purposeful to use it.
Yeah.
I have a question about back to you were saying you were diagnosed later. What was your diagnosis process like, and when did you start feeling comfortable with opening up about it?
Um, I got an official, label
Yeah.
diagnosis in that is accurate like 3 years ago. But
Really?
previous to
Huh.
that, I mean, yeah, but previous to that though, I had
You had
been
other.
dealing with severe depression.
Right.
Oh, severe depression since I was about 13, and I was on,
Wow.
Lexapro at a very,
Yep.
very, very
Wow.
just anxiety and depression is just
Mm-hmm.
kind of what they called it then.
Mm-hmm.
And as time went on and different life events and a lot of serious trauma
Yeah.
as that kind of accrued. It's like you, when I was in my 20s, that's when when the dam broke. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a gift of God that I survived my 20s. I
Yeah.
mean, I literally died once. I
Right.
overdosed,
Wow.
and this roommate came home. I was blue and dead on the couch, and they
Oh my.
brought me back. And even then, that wasn't to stop me from doing what I was doing.
Right.
Um,
And was that, I mean, I know that you must have been in one of your darkest places during those moments, but was it a way for you to feel in control to self-medicate? Or was that what you were trying to do? You know what I mean? Of like, I'm at least controlling this feeling of taking that, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it gave me it gave me a feeling of confidence, or
Mm-hmm.
just sleep was a huge reason I used
Yeah.
drugs, because I was just tired.
Yeah.
Um, so while I was trying to deal with antidepressants and trying to figure that out, was also throwing in a whole other wheelbarrow of substances on top
Yeah.
of it. So
Which
my
is
brain was
common
exhausted.
for bipolar
Yeah.
people. Substance abuse is very, very common. And honestly, I think my psychiatrist was like, Lacey, you don't know how lucky you are that that's not something. I've had genetic testing. I have the addictive gene. But my experience growing up, which was traumatic for me, was also my insight of learning what not to do by watching my bipolar
Mm,
father abuse substance. I was like,
yeah.
that doesn't help. So I was terrified of, especially alcohol, because I was like, I just don't see any good ever coming from that. And
Yeah.
in my sexual assault experiences, alcohol was involved, so I was like, fuck alcohol.
Yeah.
But the drugs are very tricky because and even right now, I don't know if you knew the statistic that my psychiatrist just gave me out of Nashville, but the overdose death rate has gone up by 4 times in the past 2 months in Nashville during quarantine.
I absolutely believe it, and I've felt it stronger than I ever have in since I got clean. It's been tough, man. I mean, I've wanted to use more during this time off than I have in like 10 years,
Yeah,
and thankfully I'm not around it or anything. I
right.
mean, I
Yeah.
very, very well could have caved given the opportunity.
Well, yeah, if you were alone, then
Yeah.
I am so grateful that I have Zach and um the small community I have and you to call, because if I was alone, I I don't even know, honestly. I just the depth of how far I can feel is scary. And I'm grateful that I have reinforcement. Um, but what would you say to somebody who doesn't have that reinforcement?
Ugh, man, it's tough. First of all, it's just temporary. Whatever you're
Yeah.
feeling in whatever moment, anytime, any
Yep.
day, it will stop and it
Yep.
will be a new one.
Mm.
And you have to know that it's just a wave. It's just one wave. And
Yep.
even if you're feeling amazing, my
Yep.
therapist taught me, she was like, there's times I came in there and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling great. And she's like, oh, so you're doing good, huh? I'm like, yep, I'm, working, I'm doing this and doing that. She
Yep.
goes, it will stop, right? I'm like, why do you gotta
You're like, yep.
be such a like buzzkill? And
Don't
she's like,
remind
just
me.
know it. She's like,
Yeah.
just need it,
Yeah.
because it will. And same thing goes for when you're as low as you possibly could be and you're just dragging your toes. That will pass too. And it sucks to hear it, put in the words like, this will pass, but it really is,
Hmm.
it really is temporary.
But you
And
saying that to me helped me a lot. And now look at how it has become the title of this podcast.
Oh.
You know, like it was that or purpose in the pain. And this is temporary resonated with more people. I was like, I can go with either. But when it gets down to it, what do I find myself repeating to myself all the time? And it's what my phone calls with you would be repeating. It was you always saying, but this is temporary. You know that. You know that this pain is temporary. And you know that because you get it. You know, that's what you have to tell yourself. I have to tell it to myself.
And, you know, it's really important when you're up too, because, you know, what goes up must come down. So
exactly.
To know that, hey,
Be
I'm
prepared.
feeling great. But, you know, in 2 hours, you know, that drop real quick.
Oh yeah.
But just yourself some grace in the ups and downs of it.
How did you get to a point of being comfortable with owning it and being open about it without feeling like it was a negative thing?
That is because of you.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'd never talked about it. So yeah, I was going through the divorce. I think you were going through.
Yep. Through mine.
Thing, and,
Wow.
Yeah, I think that was the first time I ever felt okay. I don't think I'd ever even said it out loud.
I didn't.
You know, I'd always told people I dealt with depression and things, and I'd been open about, you know, addiction problems and whatnot, but I also didn't have a diagnosis, so it wasn't like I knew
that's true. It's
what
tough.
any sort of protocol was for anything.
That's
Like,
true.
I just felt like a mess. I felt like a fucking mess.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
And
gotten
so,
easier. You know, people. Sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
People have gotten. People have gotten more. They've become much more aware of mental health, and it's gotten easier to kind of speak about it. But like even right now, I'm sweating talking about it.
Yeah. Well, it's easier for me talking with you because you and I get each other. But when I was doing my solo like introduction episode, I was, it threw me off and it just felt very vulnerable. And I was like, I'm a mess right now. What do you want to hear?
And that's what people want to hear. They want to know it because
that's probably true. Well, hey, that's what we're going to be on this, you know, and you know, I'm really, I did not know that makes me the most happy for our friendship and the part we've played in each other's journey and will continue to play, because I think that's very, very, very important to have someone who gets you when you're dealing with a certain, you know, DSM-5 disorder. But, you know, also you being a guy is a huge thing. Talking about it, I think, unfortunately, it's just harder for men to think that they can be vulnerable or that they can look like they're out of control or whatever because of the stigma around it, which we're working to break. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that and on finding your confidence in yourself and your manhood to be like, yeah, this is what I have. It's not my fault. And you know, there shouldn't be any shame in reaching out for help or for seeking a diagnosis to understand yourself or etc.
Well, you know, it's the thing. I think it's getting better now, but when I was growing up, boys didn't cry.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't a thing. It was a, you know, walk it off type of deal.
Right.
And even more so for my dad, and I can't imagine what it was like for my grandpa.
Right.
I mean, if you look at it in that view, we've come a long ways, I'm sure. But
yeah, we have.
But it's still, I think it's probably is tougher for guys because I think they feel their masculinity or, you know, their manhood is, you know, they don't want to jeopardize their manhood.
Don't they know what's in right now and it's being vulnerable? None of that toxic masculinity, please.
Right. Yeah, you do. You see significantly fewer. But I know just from the friends that I've lost, it's a lot of guys.
Well, Robin Williams is you mentioned a comedian earlier, and it made me think of Robin Williams and how he was bipolar. And obviously we unfortunately lost his amazing life, right? And I hope he is resting in peace and is in, you know, the happiest of places right now. But hearing about his journey and being exploited because of What is there sound? Are you good? Oh, that's weird. Did our sound just cut out? Hold on. Test audio settings.
All right, you're back.
I don't know what happened. Sorry about that.
Oh,
We'll try.
no worries.
But yeah, hearing about how Robin Williams not only was bipolar, but he was exploited for that. Like my psychiatrist was explaining to me that like 20 years ago, like you said, before things had advanced to what they are now, people thought he was funnier when he was more unstable, and he was handed coke to get a funnier, more unpredictable, bold reaction out of what he was capable of. And it's just really sad because it makes sense that some of the funniest, most life-giving people were able to get to that level because they also knew the contrast of it. And I am grateful that at least now we're in a place where that is more talked about. It is more understood, more explained, but I still don't think we're there yet.
No, we're not. And I had the benefit, like I said, my parents were very, very supportive, still are. When we were trying to get a grasp on what was going on with my brain, we went to I went to a place called the Amen Clinics.
Okay.
It's not a religious thing. It's this guy, Dr. Daniel Amen.
Okay.
And they specialize on brain stuff.
Yep.
And he did a scan of my brain, not an MRI, but it shows blood flow in the brain. Mm-hmm. And my brain came back the equivalent of, I think it was a 79-year-old.
Wow.
It had the beginnings of dementia. I mean, there were holes. It literally looked like holes in my brain, but there was no blood going there. And he's like, see right here, this is where impulse control comes from. And there's no blood going there. And this is where anxiety comes from. Again, there's no blood coming from here. And for me to have that visual representation, that totally changed things for me too.
It's so validating,
beyond. I mean, I felt like I had evidence, proof of like, look, I'm not just well, I guess I am a head case. Look, but I can.
But now we know what to do exactly, right. Because the reality is we cannot help what our conditions are. You just can't. Like I didn't choose it, but I now, knowing what I have, can choose to equip myself with knowledge and therapy, help, however that looks, with community, everything, to better myself in this growing, ever changing version of me that lives with bipolar. Is this sound out again? What the heck?
We're snagged up again.
I don't know what. I think it's this.
There.
Okay, we're back.
Gotcha. I missed the tail end of that. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying it's all about taking that responsibility with the diagnosis that is validating, and then saying, I'm going to now move forward and educate myself and others and grow and heal and do everything within my power to feel like the best version of me and take care of me because I'm worth it. And I could not have gone on this mental health journey without also being on a self-care journey, because they go hand in hand, right?
Right. And, to add to the self-care thing, you can't control what you're dealing with, but there are a few things you can do. You can exercise. It's huge.
Yeah.
I can't even.
You're right.
I can get that's when I really started syncing over COVID.
Right.
The first week I felt like I was born for this. Like isolation, sign me.
I think whatever. I talked to you at the beginning of this thinking I was fine too, and then I quickly sank.
Yeah. As soon as, I think it was around week 2 or so, once I wasn't able to go to the gym and exercise,
sure.
Then the diet shortly followed.
Yeah.
The diet went out the window.
Yeah.
Sleeping got all fucked up.
Yeah.
Too much TV. There's just a lot of things.
Yeah. Too much phone time.
Yeah. I just couldn't. Those were a lot of my tools, and I didn't realize how valuable they are. Exercise in particular.
I agree. That's what my psychiatrist says is the best thing we can do for ourselves, especially as bipolar people. If you want to improve your brain chemicals, like boom, you know, because ketamine, like you said, that isn't immediate, but your own smaller version of that is a workout.
Oh, 100%. And you know, I take my sides to the gym and I put
I
them
do
on the
too.
elliptical and I read them and I mean, I come out of there an hour later and I know it, like,
and you feel so productive and
oh,
better.
I feel great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as long as we can find a way to align, like, you know, productivity and, you know, feeling good about yourself, aligning your passions, whatever it is to help give you that meaning and value and purpose, it changes 1 degree, you know, at a time, like you said.
I love the 1 degree rule.
I do too, because it's like, hey, if you really want to feel better, you know, you can do something that's 1 degree, and 1 degree is better than a negative degree. Because when we've been to the really, really, really dark places, it's like, I would do anything to stay out of that place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you have any like last words for us, or anything that's on your heart, anything that you repeat to yourself?
Here's one for you. Whenever I feel kind of in a tailspin and I don't, you know, I'm not home, I don't have my medication or whatever it is.
Okay.
I had a therapist tell me, look around and ground.
Yeah.
Look
Observe
around
and report.
That word, I love it.
That's another way to say it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just literally, it's just a mindfulness exercise more or less, but you literally just look at shit around you and say it in your mind or out loud. It sounds ridiculous.
It does. It feels ridiculous.
It does. It really does.
But it helps.
It pulls you from here into here, and it helps you get a little more present, and a little more, you know, acquainted with where you are and what's going on. And
I love that, because that works for everyone. That's not just bipolar. That's like anxiety, depression. That's, you know, anything where you're feeling out of touch and you're spiraling in the head. It's like, get out of your head.
Yeah, that's exactly where it's great acting exercise too.
It is.
Like if you get in your head and
that's true.
You know, you're standing there and they're about to call action and you're like, wait,
you need to ground.
Look around, ground.
Yeah, ground. Trust yourself.
Something. Yeah.
I love that. This has been awesome. It was so easy to talk to you for so long. I could keep going. Well, I might just have to bring you back and talk on more on the subject of life, bipolar, mental health, all the above.
Please do.
I love this.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm proud of you. I'm really proud of you.
Hey. Hey.
You.
You. Adore you.
I adore you too. I will be talking to you soon, but everyone, this was Cory, and thank you so much for sitting and chatting with us for a bit.
Absolutely.
Cory, I'll talk to you soon, friend.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love you.
Yeah, love you too.
Be good.
Yeah. Bye.